and that was back in the 60s and 70s. And I was president of that, had the honor to be president at one time, and I can tell you that the arts are so crucial to any healthy, active community. And
could you pause one moment? Sorry, one moment. Hold that thought. So just so people are connecting on at home, I apologize, some technical issues. We lost our stream, had some technical issues, so we are coming back live.
Oh.
So people are coming on, but when they watch this later, I want them to know
come on live.
We lost a little bit of segment there at home, and we're now back for part 2 of the meeting. Apologies, you didn't lose any time. Go ahead.
Well, no, my apologies for being late and rushed. But I'm here to support the arts, and that's really what I wanted to say.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Public hearing is still going. Welcome. State your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Matt Wilson, 4308 South Popular Street, 46953. I am the owner of Psychedelic Cellar, and I'm a board member of Marion Arts Commission. I wanted to come up here to essentially parrot what Mike Halstead said at the last board meeting 2 weeks ago, that the money that we're requesting for this director role, the role of the director is to go and seek these grants for the city of Marion. Right now, we don't have anyone that's looking for these grants that is honing in to find out whether we are qualified for it, and if we're not qualified, how can we get qualified for it? So in the words, or not in the words, to put the numbers out there, $35,000 for one person to go out and seek thousands of dollars in grant money for Marion, where that $35,000 investment could bring back $75,000, $100,000 in grants. So in regards to the numbers, I just wanted to parrot that what Mike Halstead said last week or 2 weeks ago, that the role of this director is not to come in here and to take the money and then to go and do whatever. It is to go and bring that money back and in surplus. It is an investment with a profit. And if that doesn't happen, then yeah, it's a failure. So just wanted to state that out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And thank you for your investment in our city. Public hearing still open. All right. I'm not seeing anyone else advance to the front. So we'll close the public hearing. Okay. Any council members' comments, questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. President, I want to tell everybody that I am in support of this. I think this is an investment, a serious investment in our community. When we layer this on top of everything else that we're doing downtown, and we create an arts district that opens the door for grants, people coming to Marion, spending money. This is a huge investment, a small investment for huge returns. And so I ask my fellow councilmen to support this. And when you're ready for a motion, I will make that.
Vice President Fordyce.
I'd like to make a point on that too, is that, when we had the first hearing on this and it was printed in the paper or online or whatever, this is what the city is doing is a startup for the Arts Commission. And they've made it very clear that they don't want to be dependent on the city money. It's just a startup. And their goal is to bring more money in jobs and businesses into the city of Marion with the option of having an Arts Commission. I think it's a great idea. I think they're established with the Kennedy's Arts Center. I've known Wendy Puffer for a long time, and I just think that it's a plus for the city of Marion to have that option, to have the people that are dedicated to do this for the city of Marion. So I want the public to be aware that it's not your tax dollars just giving it away to the Arts Commission. These artists are going to be trying to get grants on their own and bring other businesses and other artists to the city to make it better and enrich our lives. So I'm for this project too.
Thank you so much. Councilman Brunner.
You know, I've been here 54 years, and there was a time in downtown Marion where it was just vibrating every Friday and Saturday night. And we lost a lot of that. And I think we're seeing under Mayor Morrell that there's an attempt to bring Marion downtown back. And I think this is another big step in the way of moving forward with what we can do downtown with the arts. I think everybody understands. I didn't hear one person say anything about damaging the downtown area with an art commission. So I would like to make a motion at this time to pass this ordinance on second reading.
This is already the second reading public hearing.
Yes.
So do you want to move this to a third reading or suspend the rules?
I know, yeah, make it, throw the rules out and make it a
Are you wanting
motion
to suspend the rules and pass it? Okay.
Yeah.
So it requires two separate motions. If you
No.
would either have to make a motion to go to third reading or a motion to suspend the rules first. Which one?
Suspend the rules and let's get going.
So what I hear is you're making a motion to suspend the rules.
Yes.
Okay, I've got a motion.
Second.
Second by Councilman Kane. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill.
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes, the rules have been suspended before. We move to the next. I did want to say a few things. I am in 100% support of this. The folks at the Kennedy Arts Center, MAC, all of them are doing a fantastic job. I'm excited. I mean, we featured under Community Spotlight a couple meetings ago, and I'm really excited where this position is going to go. And kind of what Vice President Fordyce said, it's kind of a seed money if you look at it in a way. We're seeding the program. This will help us establish an actual arts district, which then opens us up for those grants that we're not currently eligible for. And the return of investment really is endless for years and years to come. I think it definitely could help with tourism. We have these River Rock apartments coming downtown. There's just the landscape of downtown, I think in the next 5 to 10 years is definitely going to change drastically. If not in the next year or two, this is definitely going to contribute to that. We have excellent people at the Marion Arts Commission that are so dedicated, not making a dime off of this, to really bring the vibrancy back to downtown, as Councilman Brunner said. The only thing, and I've been on the record about it, is, as they know, this person, I hope, can raise the money to then self-fund over time. I mean, that's kind of the whole point. I mean, there's so many good organizations in town. The other thing I'm going to add to that is, and I have to say this, I've talked to the mayor about it, you know, I have some concern. So there's some current proposed legislation downstate that could drastically impact funding in local cities. And so if things change, then certain programs might have to get cut, or we have to find other ways to fund things. So I don't say that to scare anyone. I'm just being realistic, things that are in front of us. So whoever, if this gets passed and somebody's in this position, I hope they're full speed ahead, whoever you choose, to find that funding. Because as they say, what the government giveth, they can taketh. And there's some current legislation right now that things could be taketh. And I just want to be upfront and transparent about it. So I appreciate all of you coming in and supporting. Keep up what you're doing. And I think you guys are having a show this Friday too. We'll talk at the end there. Okay, that's all I had to say. I would entertain another motion.
I'll make a motion to, as we mentioned, suspend the rules and pass this ordinance and get rolling with the Arts Commission.
So is your motion to go ahead and just pass this? Yes. Okay, got it. We have a motion to pass the additional appropriation 1-2025. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Kane. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane.
Aye.
Fordice.
Aye.
Brunner.
Aye.
Devine. Yes. Witten.
Yes.
Cowgill.
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Additional appropriation 1-2025 has passed. Thank you. Moving in, yeah, that deserves a round of applause, yeah. Thank you, Mayor, for bringing this to us. I'm just going to announce it at the end of announcements. Moving on to additional appropriation 2-2025, second reading and public hearing.
An ordinance appropriating certain funds in the amount of $2,200,000 from the general fund to Board of Works for capital improvement. Mayor Morrell has introduced a capital improvement plan aimed at driving significant enhancements across the city. This strategic initiative focuses on addressing critical improvement needs identified within each city department. Developed through close collaboration with department heads, the plan ensures that allocated funds are utilized effectively and efficiently to achieve the city's goals and priorities. Speaking, Mayor Ronald Morrell, Jr.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you again. We've been at this now, I think it's probably week 10, and we had our budget committee meetings, we had our one-on-ones, and we had all the different things. I first just want to thank you all for listening and taking part in this capital improvement plan. This was something that we wanted to kick off with in preparation for this year's budget, where we took a lot of capital outlays and capital expenditures out of the budget to make sure our budget was balanced, and we wanted to come and present some expenditures that we felt were needed. So we have the plan before you, and I think most of my team is here. If you have any questions specific to that certain ask in the department, and we would like to work together to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. Again, for the public's information, I think we've had 2 budget committee meetings. This is obviously the second reading. So happy to have the council members either ask questions unless they want to wait until the public hearing's over. Perfect. Okay. All right, we're going to go and just open the public hearing at this time. So if you'd like to speak on this, please make your way to the front. Not seeing anyone move, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. And now, any council members with questions? Councilman Cowgill.
Not so much of a question, it's just a comment. City Hall is where we do business for the city. Any potential businesses or people wanting to live here or whatever, it's got to be a professional place. And almost all you, like you said, almost all your department heads are here. And for the citizens that don't realize this, I'm telling you, I see these people every day. They work their tails off for this city. And we got to get this city back in the way it used to be. I'm 100% for this capital improvement. In fact, I think there should have been more. I think our furniture should have been replaced, everything, because this is where it is. It's like if you have a new truck and you send it in because you want it to look the best. If it's fairly new, they're going to do an oil change, rotate the tires back. There's not much of a cost. But then if you have a 40-year-old car, which is what we're in now, you send it in, it's going to be a lot more money to fix it. Now, it'll look like that other one, but it's going to take more money to fix it. We are now at a point where it's time to put up what we have to do to get this place in order. And we owe it to all these city employees that are working their hind ends off every day. And Mayor, we first took off, kind of a thing with him and I always said, put the pedal to the metal and don't let off. He hasn't. He's working his butt off, and Robin and everybody. We got to stay on this. I'm 100% for this. Like I said, I wish it had been a little bit more, to be honest with you. I encourage my fellow council members just to pass this on, because it's time to get Marion back where it used to be.
Thank you, Councilman Cowgill. Any other council members? Vice President Fordyce.
Thank you very much. And I would agree with Brian on our staff and our workers and our department heads and our employees. I think they do a fantastic job. And I agree with the majority of this capital improvement, although I still have some issues with some things that I have asked some department heads to get me some more information on. And I don't have a problem moving ahead with it, and I will continue. I've been down to the bus terminal, and I've been in the city hall and the controller's office, and I've talked to most of them. I haven't got all of them. I'm still doing research on some stuff, and that's probably my fault if it's taken me too long, but that's just the way it is. I'm trying to be thorough. So I don't have a problem on passing this on to third reading, but I would definitely like more time to go through some more things and talk some more with some department heads on some of the expenditures that they have. So that's my feeling on that. The rest of the council can do what they would propose to do, but I would just like to have just a little bit more time to do some deeper research on some big number items that I have some issues with. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Any other council members? Councilman or Vice President Fordyce, those particular items, were there questions you wanted to ask while we're here, or anything they can help you with today?
Well, I'd really like to get with the department heads on some of the issues, because some of the stuff I don't think that is needed that on some of the expenditures that I would like to see, that if maybe we could work around that or change a few things on that. And I don't think that some of the information I just still don't have on some of the bids that I've requested that I'd like to go over and look at on comparison on some things. And for that, I would like to go to a third reading on it. I don't have a problem with most 90% of the expenditures, but there are some that I still would like to speak to a couple more department heads and get some more figures down to the nitty-gritty on it.
Okay. So you're okay, you're in support of this, but moving it to a third reading, is that what I'm hearing?
That's correct.
I don't have a problem with that. I think 2.2 million, it's pretty big expenditures, and I want to make sure all the council members are comfortable. And there's nothing necessarily on that list that's pressing at this moment and urgent. So I don't have a problem with that, but we'll leave it up to the entire council on that. Any other questions? All right, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I'd like to figure like he said originally, we've had like 10 weeks. I'd like to suspend the rules on appropriation 2025.
I have a motion to suspend the rules, appropriation 2-2025 by Councilman Cowgill, second by Councilman Kane. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Fordyce.
No.
Brunner,
Aye.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
No.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
No. So it's a tie vote. Am I correct? What's the final vote? Okay, I thought there were 6. 4-3?
4-3.
Okay, so that means the rules are suspended? Sorry, go ahead.
It takes 6 in order to suspend the rules.
Oh, okay, not just a simple?
No, it takes 2/3 of the elected body, so it has to get 6.
Okay, so then since there wasn't 6, the rules are not suspended, the motion fails. Okay, then I will entertain another motion.
Mr. President, I would make a motion to pass appropriation 2-2025 to third reading.
Second.
Motion by Vice President Fordyce, second by Councilman Witten. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Fordyce.
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill. Yep. McKinley.
Yes. Additional appropriation 225 goes to a third reading at the next council meeting. And moving into the second item on the new business, since we took care of the first one already, would be the conflict of interest disclosure.
Acceptance of the Uniform Conflict of Interest Disclosure Statement. GCA Title is a locally owned title and escrow company in operation since 1946. It provides title and search services on an as-needed basis. Michael Hotz is the corporate counsel for the City of Marion and has a pecuniary interest in the company that predates his position with the city. The enclosed conflict of interest form is state mandated and has been disclosed and approved by the mayor. This form was submitted to the mayor and council last year and is done on an annual basis. No action is required by the council other than to acknowledge receipt of the conflict disclosure. The form is filed with the state by the Controller's Office. Speaking, Corporate Counsel Michael Hotz.
Good afternoon, always a pleasure. Enjoy the hot seat sometimes today. Here for questions. I mean, I guess summary, we and did this last year. It's kind of an annual, thing under the statute. I think last year we had, Councilman Fordyce had some questions about a resolution. Not really asking that this year. Kind of went back to the drawing board and looked at it. I think the purpose today is just to acknowledge that you've received the conflict disclosure. It's already been made to the mayor. He's essentially already signed off on it. And as a precautionary measure, we bring it from the council just because you have the power of the purse as well. So happy to answer any questions.
Council members with questions? I do have one, and we might have answered this last year, but so I know there's a conflict of interest disclosure. Does the city have a contract with GCA Title? Is there any kind of relationship there already?
No, it does not. So the city is free to pick title anywhere they'd like to go for that. So yeah, there's no standing contract. So it's a case-by-case deal. It can come from various different sources. I think Board of Works will be on, when they demolish a building, they'll do a title search for that, and so they can go out and do appropriate notifications there. Redevelopment may order searches from time to time. I don't typically have a lot of searches that I necessarily generate, but it's kind of an autopilot thing. I really don't even know what, I think I saw some searches get ordered today from Board of Works, and that was probably coming from the Board of Works meeting on some demolitions. So yeah, but there's no contract. It's just the market rate as far as the charges go.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Any other council members? Vice President Fordyce?
So, Michael, when the title work goes through your company down there, do you just completely absolve yourself from that business of that property, or abstain to doing anything on that since it's involved with the city? Or do you refer legal advice to them on that? Or are you completely absolved of it when your firm does the work?
Like, okay, so you're saying, like, what's my level of involvement
Sure.
on the opinions?
Sure.
I guess my role there is considered on paper the sort of operations guy, but I do have a title insurance license, but I don't sign commitments. That's we have our own order team that processes that. We have our own searchers. I don't search the product. They Connie Plummer and there's two other searchers take care of all that, and then the examination team, that's really up to them to sign and give their opinion on that. So yeah, I from time to time I may have a legal opinion on, it would be more, I generally get involved if it's a buy-sell transaction that's not involving the city. There may be some problems that need to be resolved or some weird title issues, but yeah, with our things, we really don't have that, because I think the title searches that are generally being ordered by the city are just more of a, like, give me a status of who the owner is, what type of mortgages or liens are against the property or encumbrances. Those could be lien liens, those can be judgments. They generally do not access me for those type of things in that regard. So yeah, I mean, as far as I would not say that I'm involved at that granular level to say issue this or don't issue that. That's not really sort of my role, specifically with regard to the city searches.
So on the conflict of interest, just kind of define that for me on conflict of interest. If it's you or council person, because we have to sign those agreements too. So we can't financially benefit from any business that we delegate to a business or a contractor or award contracts or approve contracts. Or so financially, that would be a conflict of interest to us. Correct? Yeah. Is that correct?
Yes, so a conflict is defined in the statute if you have some sort of pecuniary interest. So if there's some sort of, that can be ownership, that can be financial, if there's some way that somewhere along the way there could be some profit generated from any business you do, that's what the state defines as a conflict that needs to be disclosed. Yep. And they say essentially if you don't disclose it, it could have criminal ramifications, so which means I'm very particular about making sure that.
Or at least ethics.
Yeah, they've made a judgment about, ethics and that. So yeah, it's not coming from an attorney conflict, which would be a different thing. That's not what's necessarily driving this. This is more of the statute. Yep.
All right, well, appreciate it. Any other council members?
Yep.
Hope it wasn't too much of a hot seat for you, but thank you for answering all the questions.
Yeah. You guys are, you ask great questions. I appreciate it.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving into our last agenda item, the General Ordinance 4-2025, first reading.
An ordinance for parking in residential districts and the use of the public right-of-way. The City of Marion proposes an update to the existing abandoned motor vehicle ordinance to provide for enhanced enforcement through 1, greater clarity in the definitions section, 2, updated fines and fees, and 3, regulation of parking in residential districts, including alleys and streets. Speaking, Corporate Counsel Michael Hotz.
It's been a long time back up here again. So I think just a brief, I guess, summary of this. I think it's been something that's been looked at over the last couple of years. There's been tweaks at it. It's kind of actually a little bit of a complicated area to navigate for a couple of reasons. One is that we essentially have state statute that defines what you can do with abandoned motor vehicles, whether that's in the public right-of-way or on private property. But the definition of what an abandoned vehicle is and whether that can be in a particular property is also governed by our zoning. And, the city has its own, if Mike was here, or I think Mike was here earlier, we have, zoning maps that we've sort of planned out commercial districts, and that changes what you can do in those districts. So this is really just looking at residential areas. And, as I was Marion City Court judge for 3 years, I saw a lot of these cases come through, and we had some pretty robust arguments about what an abandoned vehicle was. And I remember asking a gentleman one time, I was like, well, can you get in it if I had the keys, and how long would it take you to start this thing up and drive off? And he said, well, I'd have to connect the battery, and I had to put this thing and put a little air in the tire. And so we were having these debates, right, about what that looked like. So, I mean, that's part of the attempt here, is to really define what an abandoned vehicle looks like. Is it operable or not, and what's operable? Because I also had arguments with people sometimes that had been in a wreck and the mirror's off and the taillight's out. I'm like, well, part of being operable is can you legally and safely drive it down the street? Would you be pulled over by a police officer if you tried to attempt to drive that vehicle, right? The cracked windshield. I mean, you can't, yeah, it operates, it drives, and so it's trying to get at that. The other component that we're trying to get at is with code enforcement. We're having, some questions about, people want to take their front yard and just kind of drive a vehicle up on that, right? And so it's not really a driveway. It's not concreted in. It's not gravel. It's not a defined barrier or boundary. And so we're having those debates a lot of times in code enforcement. They're like, hey, well, it's fine to park. We're like, well, it's really just your yard. You're just parking in your front yard, right? Or we have some backyard issues too, where people they got 2 to 3 vehicles in their backyard. So we're trying to clear that up and also try to simplify the ordinance. And so we think we've got a great effort here. We brought together and really kind of went line by line. We brought the chief of police in, we brought Robin and code enforcement, and Mike Graff, and we literally went line by line to try to give us a good faith effort to address some issues. And I think it's been in committee at one point in time and took that there. So that's kind of the intent of the ordinance and what it does, and it's kind of a demand from our code enforcement and provide some clarity. I think the last ordinance we looked at said you could only have street parking for 24 hours. I don't think anybody probably intended to only have 24-hour parking. Some people in the city, that's the only parking they have is on the street. So that's pretty limiting. So that's what you have there. I'm happy to answer some questions you guys may have.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Any council members' questions? Councilman Cowgill.
I appreciate you, Michael, talking to me today. I had questions on this ordinance, and I got them answered before this meeting, and I appreciate you getting with me on that.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's, I told the mayor the other day, like, if you tell me the result that you want or how you, kind of want it drafted, I'm pretty good at getting you there, but I don't make the calls, as far as street parking, non-street parking, front yard, backyard. So I'm more of a scrivener there, but so clearly defined objectives help. So I appreciate that.
Great, thank you. Any other council members? Start on the very end and go around. Councilman Brenner.
It just seems to me, Michael, that the last year to 2 years, I've really seen a lot of what you're trying to take care of here. People parking. I know there's one situation a block and a half from my house where a person is parking in his neighbor's yard. Backyard parking. You go by some houses and they have a car halfway sitting out in the street. So I think this is something that really needs a good look, and I'm glad you put this together, and we hopefully can it just really, I think, hurts the ambiance of a city when you see abandoned vehicles or vehicles that are just, people just park them there to park them there. So thanks for doing this for us.
Sure. Thank you.
Vice President Fordyce.
Yeah, thank you. Michael, I'm just curious, why didn't we know about this? The council or the code enforcement? I mean, you said that you had the police department and traffic in on it, but nobody from the council or code enforcement committee was notified? Or, I mean, do you think we should have been in on those meetings or got this a little while ago or had a committee meeting before you brought it before the council? Because we've been through this. This ordinance has literally been rewrote 5 times. We've had Judge Hunt has rewrote it under Almball twice. You've rewrote it once or twice and redlined it, but we always had committee meetings. I'm just curious because I didn't know anything about this ordinance. It wasn't brought to my attention. And I don't think the chairman of the code enforcement knew anything about it. Did you, Andy?
We didn't see anything beforehand.
So, I mean, just to throw it on us right now, I mean, I'd like time to read it and go over it and discuss it. Or, I mean, because the last time we had combined residential and commercial, and me and you had talked about that, and we had to take that and throw it in the trash because legally you can't have residential and commercial in the same ordinance. And we were going to refer back to state statute on commercial, correct? And rewrite the residential.
Yeah, I think that was an attempt at the time to try to simplify, and I think that was kind of coming out of the building department to try to, I think from a code enforcement standpoint, it's, you got to think about their job. They go out and, they see a vehicle, and then that may have had a spot zoning or a variance, and then it's a commercial residential, and they kind of go back to the maps. And so I think the intent there was to try to make it easier so they just, hey, we're just targeting abandoned vehicles that are trashed out vehicles that are there. And I think what we encountered there is, and what I alluded to, it's a little more complex than that. It's just not a great way to try to combine it into one ordinance, to do that. And so that's when sort of the idea of just kind of scrapping and leaving commercial for another day to look at. And that's what we've done here. We've kind of taken out the commercial language and just kept it focused on residential neighborhoods. So as far as the process, hey, the mayor wanted to get something going, and and so I act and we get it moving here. But I know, if he was here, I know he just left here, he would say, hey, we welcome input. So I don't think it's a thing to try to force down you. I think it's an idea that's been batted around for a little bit. It's been with us for a while, and I think it was just an initiative to try to get us going downrange a little bit on it. And code enforcement's asking for it, and they want to see some progress on it and give them some more tools there. So, I think he's open to any suggestions you guys have, and if you want to, I'm happy to help revise or tweak some things. As we've revised a couple of times, but hey, every time I think we've gone at it, we try to make it better from that standpoint. So,
Great, thank you. Any other council members? I will say I am in favor of us sending this to committee. One, because we did get the red line version last night. There is a lot to go through that. But two, I have some concerns on the change of language that you can't park a boat or a recreational vehicle on a road anywhere. In my neighborhood, sometimes that's all you got. There's no yard. There's no, well, can't put them in yards, right? And there's no driveways. I live in a very urban area and have concerns with some of the language on that. So I just want to be able to hash that out. And I mean, as of right now, my recreational camper is parked on the road. So I just think there's some things we need to hash out on that language. And it's fully functional, operational. I do move it. And sometimes it's parked in my driveway. So that could be for the committee meeting. So I'm in favor of sending this to committee just because I think there's quite a bit to hash out. And I didn't have a chance today to go through it all since I got it last night. I appreciate you sending it last night, but one day wasn't enough for me to go through the red line. Sure. But any other council members, questions?
If you'd like that in a form of a motion, I'm willing to do that, Mr. President.
I don't think it's required because we haven't passed it yet. So I'm just going to say, well, we'll send it to committee. So the committee would go to is back to the Code Enforcement Committee. Andy Witten's the chair of that, and then the two other members are Gary Forday Sr. and Erica Devine. So I would like to see that go to committee and just hash that out. I just think the collective in the room, I think, would be beneficial. So just asking that you could have that committee meeting before the next council meeting.
Absolutely.
That would be great. And
I'm happy to attend. I mean, I've been in and out of that thing a couple times now, so I think I know my way through it and can help you.
We'll make sure you're on the invite list.
Yeah, and I do think it helps. Councilman Calgo asked a question today, and I think sometimes like the law and facts, right? Like you read the law or the ordinance and you go, oh yeah, it makes sense, and then you start asking questions about like, well, how does it apply in this case? I think those are healthy conversations to have because it'll refine what your intent is as you go through that. So.
well, it's the fine line of those people that don't abuse it and the people do abuse the rules and find loopholes. And I appreciate all the work you guys done to it. As Vice President Forday says, it's been changed so many times. And I don't know if it'll ever stop changing, but I think having a conversation a little deeper on what's been changed, I think would be beneficial.
What we even found is actually the codification we have right now is not the actual, I think, correct ordinance too. There was one that was passed under Mayor Almbaugh that never got codified, so we did catch that. It was in a markup somewhere and just never got sent over. So, well, I mean, just I think it's just one of those things sometimes that we watch those. So, yeah, happy to participate, answer any questions.
Great. And the hope is that maybe we can get through it in one meeting and bring it back. But again, if it takes more than one, then we'll go as long as we need to get it hashed out. So I appreciate it. So Councilman Witten will schedule that, and we'll notify the rest of the council on that.
Okay.
And those that need to attend from the city.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yep.
Okay, that's it for the agenda. I did have one other, it wasn't on the actual agenda, but I spoke about it earlier, but super excited that the Marion, or the Kennedy Arts Center is having an opening reception this Friday, February 21st from 7 to 9 p.m. It's called Making a Garden of Strange Fruit. There's a lot of descriptors in here. You can find it online, but it is in an exhibit featuring Samuel Levi Jones and his team. I encourage everyone to go check it out. It's right there at the Kennedy Arts Center downtown. If anything, just go and show your support. I believe it starts at 7, and then there's like an open reception after that. So I plan on being there, and hopefully other council members will show up, show their support. Any other council members with announcements? Great. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Kane, second by Vice President Fordyce. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane?
Aye.
Fordyce?
Aye.
Brunner?
Aye.
Devine?
Yes.
Witten?
Yes.
Cowgill?
Aye.
McKinley?
Yes. Meeting adjourned.